Hi, friends.
I'm Zach.
I'm Mitch.
And we are an excellent little podcast.
Presenting you a little movie podcast starring Zach and Mitch. And Happy Easter.
Happy Easter. But wait, going back to what you said, are we doing a podcast on Easter?
Zach, you know your question. Are you a Slytherin?
No. Don't try to negate this. This one's different.
Are you a Slytherin?
No, I'm a Hufflepuff.
Wait.
Are you a Slytherin?
No. Well, so funny story.
That's what a Slytherin would say.
Funny story. I took the Pottermore test twice. The first one I got Hufflepuff. The second one I got Slytherin. So
well, Hufflepuffs always look after Slytherin, so I can look after you. It's fine.
But the first test was a Hufflepuff, so therefore I'm a Hufflepuff.
So you're a you're a Slitherpuff.
No, I'm a Hufflin.
You're a Slitherpuff.
Whatever.
I don't
So
know.
if you guys are wondering, we are here to review Fantastic Beasts: Secrets of Dumbledore, the third in this Fantastic Beast.
Secrets.
All I'm saying is this is the third movie.
It's Secrets of Dumbledore. We have to do this entire podcast like it's an ASMR.
ASMR. So we are gonna... I can't. I'm sorry. I cannot.
Secrets of Dumbledore, the third installment of the Fantastic Beasts series, which was directed by David Yates, and it
was written by J.K. Rowling and Steve Kloves.
Yep. I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of shocked when I saw J.K. Rowling's name still attached to screenplay on this. I thought it was decided that she was not going to write any more of the screenplays, but evidently that was false information that I was told.
To tell you the truth, I think she does need to stop because J.K. Rowling, with all the controversy, number one, and number two, she's a good book writer, but when it comes to films and screenplays, she's just not very good because I feel like she tries to put in a 700-page book into a 2-hour movie, which is literally impossible.
Which is why I think Steve Kloves is there, to have someone who's written multiple scripts to go like, okay, keep this, do away with this. I would genuinely really like to kind of see what entirely all this would be happening. But yeah, kind of sad to still see J.K. Rowling's on this movie because that carries a lot of really not so great baggage.
Yeah, the summary of this is Albus Dumbledore assigns Newt and his allies with a mission related to the rising power of Grindelwald.
Yep, or Grindelwald.
We obviously
Grindelwald.
Don't have a clue how you pronounce this.
By the end
one.
of this movie, you don't know which one it is.
Quick little thing. There is some tripping going on, so don't worry. It's just the, what did you say, Zach?
Carbon monoxide.
Yeah,
so we're all going to probably die soon. But
probably. I mean, we all die regardless,
eventually.
right?
But hey, we're doing a podcast.
We are doing a podcast.
And maybe it might boost the numbers.
Probably.
But, so we, as always, are going to be splitting our reviews up into 3 sections. We have your non-spoiler side. We will then have our review, which we will tell you whether we ate this up, we think it needed a little more time to cook, or if we're going to feed it to Jazz.
Which is Zach's dog.
Which is my cute dog that is joining us just next to me.
And then we also have a spoiler section, so if we will have a big alarm. I know Zach likes to do the alarm.
You can do it this time.
Oh, no. By all means. I can't mess with a good thing.
Well, don't worry. We'll go ahead and get to those spoiler sections and that alarm when we need to. But don't worry, we will definitely make sure that you know when that spoiler section is going to happen.
Well, let's hope so.
All right. Without further ado, Mitch, so this one's unique because this wasn't on any of our top 10s. So we just wanted to see this movie and see where the Wizarding World was going to take us in its next iteration. So, Mitch, what did you think about the new Fantastic Beasts: Secrets of Dumbledore?
So this is a forgotten movie because, number one, I completely forgot it was coming out. I really, really did until I saw the trailer back in, was it November, I think, and they announced that it was getting moved up, the release date, by 2 weeks. when I saw the trailer, I'm just like, this is the third movie of this Fantastic Beasts franchise, whatever you want to call it, because at first it was supposed to be a trilogy and now it's supposed to be 5 films. Let's see if that really happens. But while I'm watching these trailers and I was hearing about this movie, I did not have it in my top 10. I don't even think it's in my top 15. Probably not even my top 20. Because first one was good. I enjoyed it. Second one, I did not like it at all.
Sure. Okay.
I didn't like it at all. It was boring. It just had so much going on at one time. It felt like I was watching just an absolute crapshoot of a Harry Potter film, which I never thought was possible, because every Harry Potter Wizarding World film before Crimes of Grindelwald was a good movie.
Yeah.
And then that came out and I'm just like, what the heck? And I didn't even see it in theaters. I watched it on Hulu during the Panini. And I'm just like, what? And then I saw this, and I gotta say, it was a nice return to basics, if you will.
Sure, absolutely.
But Zach, what did you think?
Yeah, so my first thoughts, I really, really enjoyed the first Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I thought it was such a very cool jumping into new waters, because we get to see more of the wildlife aspect of the Wizarding World, which I always thought was really, really cool aspect. And seeing Newt Scamander write his book, which was so awesome. And I also thought it was really, really cool that we were getting to see America's version of the Wizarding World too. So
I feel like they need to go back. I wish they go back to America,
which was so cool. It was really cool to see all of that fleshed out and
like
whatnot.
1920s New York.
But then the second one came out, and I'm in the camp where I don't necessarily hate the second one. I actually kind of enjoyed it. I think there were a couple of missteps with it. A couple of missteps. Definitely one of them being not Johnny Depp specifically being cast in the role, but his look looked a little too weird.
Which is saying something for Johnny Depp.
I couldn't buy the fact that, like, if Johnny Depp would have just looked normal, like how we'll later talk about Mads Mikkelsen's look with Grindelwald, if they would have done the more naturalistic approach and had maybe the double eyes and the silver hair, could have worked with that.
Absolutely.
I think that would have been great.
Yeah.
But they went off the wall bonkers with him. And I think that kind of hurt me taking his character a little bit too seriously. And yeah, I feel like, and they really strayed away from the Fantastic Beast idea. There wasn't a whole lot of creatures in the second one. It was just, they were kind of there.
Yeah, that was just a title thing, I feel.
So yeah, going into this, I was like, I want more creatures. I always want more Jacob. I always want more Jacob. And I really love Dumbledore in the second one, too. I thought Jude Law did a really wonderful job in it. So now that it's the Secrets of Dumbledore, it meant that he was going to be a bigger part in the story. So I was really excited to see that.
Yeah.
So I was going into this movie with not high expectations, but at least moderate expectations.
Sure.
So when it comes to the movie itself, it was better than the second one. The first one was still better, though. And again, the creatures play a little bit more of a role in this one, but it's still, the creatures take a pretty much backseat except for one specifically. And we'll get to that eventually, what that creature does. Because it's actually really kind of cool lore building, I feel like. But it's just, like, I feel like one thing that I do know that a lot of people are going to say, and we'll get to it again a little bit later, is that there were a lot of plot lines going on along in this movie.
Yeah.
We'll get to that there. But I will say they kind of warn you at the beginning of the movie about that. So It's kind of like, okay, so we're gonna do a lot in this movie. So I was expecting, okay, so I'm gonna have to keep track a little bit more. So they at least set that expectation in the beginning of the movie. But enough about that. I thought it was a better iteration of the Fantastic Beasts. Still not the best, but it's heading in the right direction.
So basically what you're saying is it's a movie that started heading in the right direction, like you said, but it's having a little trouble balancing the difference between with the Fantastic Beasts and the normal characters such as Albus Dumbledore and Newt Scamander.
Correct. Yeah.
So let's, I would agree with that 110%. But speaking of the normal characters, let's talk about this cast.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Eddie Redmayne comes back as Newt Scamander, and he plays Newt. And I think he plays such a wonderful, loving Newt Scamander. Now, I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan. Like, my sister owns that realm. I'm Star Wars. She's Harry Potter. And from when this franchise was being started and whatnot, my sister kind of made it seem like Newt was a little hidden, but like still a little bit like boisterous.
Yeah.
That's not Eddie Redmayne's character.
No.
He's a very oddball, loner, quirky guy, and I really love it. I always love whenever, and he doesn't relate to humans, he relates to animals,
right?
And it just always shows whenever he is with one of the animals just how special of a character Newt really is, and you really kind of see that zoologist aspect of him, and I always love him. So anytime that we get to spend time with Newt and Eddie Redmayne, I love it. It's great. And he brings it again.
I feel like he's the Ace Ventura of the Wizarding World, literally, quite literally. So I just wanted him to be like, oh, righty then. But I gotta agree. Eddie Redmayne is good as Newt Scamander. I really can't see anybody else in that role. Dare I say I kind of wanted to see him a little bit more in this one.
Okay.
Because we saw him a lot in the first one.
Yeah.
We saw him enough in the second one.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to see more of him in this third one because I wanted some more quirkiness. I wanted some more, dare I say, physical comedy. And we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But I just wanted more Newt because in reality, Fantastic Beasts, this needs to be like his moment.
Yeah, it centers around Newt.
Yeah.
It's supposed to center around him. All the other ones are supposed to be kind of like secondary characters.
Right. And I'm not asking him to be Harry Potter.
No. I think no one really is.
I just want him to be not the face of the Wizarding World. I just want him to be a
prominent aspect of it.
Of the Fantastic Beasts area of the Wizarding World. But speaking of secondary characters.
Well, and a prominent characters.
So Jude Law plays Albus.
Percival.
Ulfric.
Brian.
Dumbledore.
we had to bring it back. But honestly, Jude Law, perfect casting for a young Dumbledore. Perfect from once it was announced for the last movie, and perfect again. The dude brings his A game, and it just shows. You can totally see where this character started and where he's going to go to. You can totally buy him being the Dumbledore that we see in our Harry Potter movies. He's just got that nice calmness and reassurance. Like, he's going to ask something that's absolutely crazy and almost impossible. But once he's in the room, it can be done kind of a personality. So, Jude Law has it, man. He's got it in spades.
So one thing I would have to say, he's making the character his own, but he's also adding bits of Michael Gambon and the late Richard Harris.
Yeah.
Because he's the third person to play Albus Dumbledore.
Yeah.
And he just adds something new to the character, but also I don't want to say owning up, but respecting.
Paying homage.
Yes. Yeah. The previous two that played him.
Yeah.
And when I watch him, I'm like, yes, I believe that this Dumbledore is a young version of the Albus Dumbledore that we saw in the Harry Potter films.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people, even though, yes, it was exciting, people were just pumped. I feel like there was a little bit queasiness because they were thinking, is Jude Law playing the actual young Albus Dumbledore? Which, I mean, yeah, it says he is, but a lot of people are like, is this going to be canon? Is this going to be like a different timeline, if you will? But when I watched him in this one, I'm like, yes, that is Albus Dumbledore, the one that we saw in the Harry Potter films, just however younger that he is, and before he meets Tom Riddle.
Yeah, and honestly, like, and that's the great thing about just Jude Law as an actor. He has that, like, stoicness of Richard Harris, but has that quirkiness as, like, a Michael Gambit.
Yeah.
Like, and he rides that line really well, because I feel like because the unfortunate thing is that between 2 and 3, Richard Harris did pass away.
Yes.
So, and because Albus plays such a prominent role in Harry's life and in Hogwarts, you had to have the character, so he had to be recast.
Absolutely.
There was nothing that they could have done about that situation except for recast the role. And going from Richard Harris to Michael Gambit, I bought it when it did happen.
I did too.
But you could tell it was 2 different versions of the character, which is natural when an actor takes over. They're not going to play a carbon copy of a role that was someone else's.
When we saw that in this movie too, and we'll
we
get to
saw
that later.
in this movie, but it was just kind of stark a little bit.
Yep.
Like, Richard Harris's Dumbledore was very stoic, very kind of quiet into himself, where Michael Gambit was a little more quirky, into your face, and loud. Jude Law marries the two.
Yes.
And genuinely it makes me rewatch the Harry Potter franchise and makes it seem more like one character, even though it has now been played by 3.
So he has a much clearer continuity between the franchise. Yes. So you mentioned him earlier in your first thoughts.
Yeah.
Dan Folger?
Van Folger, yeah.
As Jacob Kowalski.
What did you think of him, Mitch?
So, I loved him in the first one.
Uh-huh.
The second one, I wanted more of him. But this one, there was that perfect balance of Jacob Kowalski. And, oh, man. Pure standout.
Well, and that's the thing. I feel like out of all these movies, because I have to disagree with you on the second one, each time he's on screen, I can't help but smile. Like, because the thing is that he kind of plays the straight man in this, the one that we're all supposed to relate to, because he plays a muggle or a nomad or whatever you want to call him. And, you know, all of us being non-magic, we
Speak
gravitate.
for yourself.
Okay, all right. We are the magic. Excuse me. But
That's a good one. We went there.
We went there. Spoilers, we're cast members.
Wait, we're cast members? And wait, we're doing a podcast?
We are.
Or no, this is magic.
But we do not speak for the branded company, especially
No.
since we're reviewing a Warner Brothers movie.
Yeah, wait. No, Warner Brothers Discovery.
Oh, you're right. It's now Warner Brothers Discovery. My fault. You are right.
How dare you?
But back to Jacob Kowalski. He just brings such a smile to my face every single time, because he just has this wonder about this world, and we all just kind of wish we could live it, and he's just living the dream of genuinely being a part of it.
I feel like if Ron Weasley was American and a nomad or a muggle, it would be Jacob Kowalski.
Basically, yeah.
I will take that to the grave. Jacob Kowalski is the Fantastic Beasts version of Ron Weasley.
And that's the thing. We have to give credit where credit's due. Dan Folger really plays this character well.
Yeah, you got to give him a lot of credit.
And he not only plays, because he's a comedic actor. That's what he's known for. That's what he's made his bread and butter on. But the dude hits all of those really emotional and subtle moments, which genuinely bring the character even more forward. So, and especially in this film, where he's not at like the bottom or at rock bottom, but a lot's happened to this character.
Yeah.
And a lot, and it's basically his character's pretty much at a tipping point. This could either tip all the way and go even worse, or it could tip the other way and things could go back to normal. But he rides that line so darn well.
Yeah.
All right. Next character.
We got to talk about it.
There's a lot of characters that we have to talk about, and there's a lot of controversy that we have to talk about with this. There's so much baggage on this one.
I hope you all, while you're listening to this, you're comfy, you have something to drink, you have something to eat, and you don't have to go to the bathroom anytime soon, because this one, it's going to be a doozy.
Yeah, and so we're not pulling any punches. Next one we're going to talk about is Ezra Miller playing Credence.
Boy, I didn't like him at all in this movie.
Yeah, he
very bland.
He was really bland in this movie.
Stiff.
And the thing is, Credence really has, like, in the first one, I kind of bought it.
I did too.
Because, like, he's heavily abused, so him being distant and whatnot, like, totally fine with the character. The second one, he was a little bit more emotional, and which was okay. But this one,
there's nothing.
Completely blank.
There's nothing.
He was
there.
a completely blank slate. And you could see some moments where, like, he almost, like, tried. Mm-hmm. But, like, there were moments where, like, there was water on his face that would resemble tears, but it didn't look like his face was making those tears.
I don't really know what's going on in Ezra Miller. I really don't.
I'm pretty much I'm done with the character of Credence, and I'm done with Ezra Miller.
Yeah.
Honestly, I with everything that's going on in his personal life, dude needs to clean up his act. He needs to take a long break. Like at least a 5-year minimum, and work on himself.
And it's just a shame because from what I'm hearing with all the early screenings of The Flash, even though that's been delayed till next year, the movie The Flash is really good, and that could really could be a jump starter for him, even though he doesn't really need one. Yeah. But with what he's been doing, I do have to agree he needs to take a break and really. Maybe if he's dealing with something mentally, he needs to find help.
He needs to find help now.
Yes.
With everything that he's been in that we are aware of.
Yeah.
And I guarantee there's probably some more stuff that we haven't heard of.
Well, the sad thing is he's got loads of talent. Mm-hmm. Loads and loads of talent.
I loved him in Wallflower. I thought he was brilliant in that. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if just the success got to his head or what. But the dude needs some help.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this,
Ezra, we
believe in you. We really do.
We know you can do better, and that's why we are so disappointed in you right now.
Yes,
both in performance and as you are acting right now.
And we really want to see The Flash do well, even though with the Warner Brothers Discovery thing, I know they're trying to like completely rehash that, which whatever, that's for another time. Happens. That's another time. Yeah. But now we're going to talk about Callum Turner as Theseus Commander.
Yeah, as Newt's brother. What do you think of Theseus in this one? Because this is a returning character. So what did you think?
I thought he was just there.
He was, but he wasn't really. It's a little. We won't go into the spoiler, but like
if there was
there at the beginning,
I feel like. If there was a pointless character, it would be Theseus Commander. Even though there were bits where, he was important.
I feel like they just didn't know what to do with him in this one.
I know. Like, that's why. I'm like, he was worthless.
And here's the thing.
He didn't do bad.
Here's the thing. I really thought they could have done a lot with him, too. Because he's an Auror, so he works for the Ministry. Mm-hmm. And the Ministry does not like Albus.
Not at all.
They have never liked him, and they're always very upfront with that they've never liked Albus Dumbledore.
Because they don't believe in really the fact that he enjoys being around humans. Yeah,
they don't like how much power he has. Uh-huh. They don't like his interactions. They just don't like Dumbledore. So having an Auror trust Dumbledore and be basically part of Dumbledore's inner circle.
His first army.
What a cool character to have at your disposal in that army.
Absolutely.
But he's barely in it.
And when he wasn't necessary.
Yeah, it was so unfortunate on that one. Mm-hmm. Then another one that
This is so disappointing.
They had so much potential again on another character with Alison Sudol playing Queenie.
One of my
favorite characters from the first one. I
know.
thought she was amazing in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them in the first one.
I agree.
And then in the second one, spoilers for The Crimes of Grindelwald, she goes over to Grindelwald's side.
Mm-hmm. What are you doing?
Such a cool character to switch.
Yeah.
And doing it for a rightful cause. She just wants to have a relationship with the wonderful, lovable Jacob Kowalski.
And the sad thing is, their relationship is believable, but their chemistry was a little off in this one. It was really a shame, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was like, and I understand like why Queen. I have to. That was almost a spoiler. I caught myself.
Zach,
sorry. I was really close.
Yeah.
But there was so much potential in this relationship, and how they were going to dig into, how they could have dug into Queenie on this one. Mm-hmm. But she's barely used.
Yeah.
And when she is...
It's underused.
It's underused. She maybe has 1 or 2 lines in the scene whenever she's present.
Yeah.
And they're small.
And one thing I think may have something to do with it, I feel like J.K. Rowling and Steve Kloves, when they were writing the script, they wanted people to know that she was terrified of Grindelwald.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And that's fine, but she's a very powerful character.
A powerful character and a very...
Important.
To be honest, important, very talkative character.
Absolutely.
So it was kind of almost out of character to see her as silent as she was.
Yeah, it was very, very disappointing.
But one person that was new that actually stood out was, for me, Jessica Williams playing, oh gosh, every single time.
Lolly Hicks.
Lolly Hicks.
Yes. We don't need to know the first name.
whenever they said her name, I genuinely was like, say it again?
Hello?
What was her name? Lolly. Like, say it again?
Lolly.
Like, it
didn't click.
It didn't read in actually saying her name, but I enjoyed her character.
Oh, she was hilarious.
She was wonderful. And some people might not like the kind of voice that she uses in this one, because it goes and kind of pays homage to like the 1920s, like radio speak kind of like, and she uses a lot of the slang and euphemisms of the 20s. She does do a lot of that,
even though this is basically set in the 40s, late 30s, early 40s.
Late 30s. Yeah, but honestly, she was a joy. She was a delight. I loved her. Anytime that she was on screen, she was really, really wonderful and played really well with each of her characters. And she actually got paired with Jacob Kowalski for one of the
That
parts.
was the heart of that movie.
So when I heard that they were gonna get paired together, I was like, oh, this is a plot line I'm gonna thoroughly enjoy.
Yeah,
and it was. Yeah. It was so good.
But okay, so we've talked about the majority of the cast. A lot of people are wondering, Mads Mikkelsen replacing Johnny Depp as Grindelwald.
Yeah.
So I will say this. I was really disappointed when Warner Brothers decided to cut ties with Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
I really, really was. Because Johnny Depp, I don't want to really get into that deal with him and what's going
Amber
on.
And Amber Heard and everything, yep.
Because when I look at Johnny Depp, I just see a man who can act. I know everybody's like, oh, he's a method actor, this, that. The guy can act.
The guy can genuinely act. And that's the whenever I hear about acting stories from Johnny Depp, yeah, he's method, but he knows when to stop.
Absolutely.
And it's just really awesome and really joyous to see him whenever he plays a character on screen. No matter what character it is, it always is just kind of cool to see how he portrays each character. Because some people say he's kind of like a Tom Cruise, where some of them just kind of all bleed together. Not to me. I think so many of them are maybe in the same vein, but still vastly different people, very creative people. He does such a wonderful job and has such a wonderful palette. And I genuinely enjoy watching him, and did enjoy watching him in Crimes of Grindelwald. But
I did too.
Yeah, so Mads Mikkelsen taking over.
One quick thing.
Oh yeah.
You mentioned all the stuff Johnny Depp has done. Disney, if you're listening, please make another Pirates of the Caribbean. I need
With
more
him.
With him.
With him.
I need more Captain Jack Sparrow.
You can't cut away from your post-credit scene of Davy Jones coming up to Will Turner in a dream and then say, nope, that's it. That's the end of the franchise. Sorry. No, you
And not
jerks.
and not the reboot. Oh, please. I mean, I would be okay with that.
Margot Robbie would be a wonderful addition to the Pirates universe.
Yes.
Just make sure it's actually in the Pirates universe
Yes.
with Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, I don't
care if they share billing. I don't care if she becomes a co-main character. Mm-hmm. But
bring back
Pirates
Jack Sparrow.
of the Caribbean is not Pirates of the Caribbean without Johnny Depp or Jack Sparrow.
Yes. Okay, now, Mads Mikkelsen.
Yes.
Dare I say he did better than Johnny Depp, but not because of a better acting ability. It was, I feel like this was the kind of Grindelwald we probably should have gotten, but not because it was Johnny Depp's fault. I think it was just, this was something that when they were writing the script, they found out Johnny Depp wasn't going to be there anymore. They finally decided, okay, this is the character that we're going to write for Mads Mikkelsen, and this is what they probably thought should have happened. Mm-hmm. And I gotta say, Mads Mikkelsen did extremely well in this role, and I gotta say, he was probably one of the biggest scene stealers in my opinion.
Oh yeah, he was terrifying.
Yeah. Which is saying something.
And that's the thing. You mentioned the script being one of the things. I completely agree with that. I don't think that this was written with Mads Mikkelsen in mind.
I agree.
I think it's one of those things where the script wrote the character really well. Mm-hmm. The actor really connected with the script and the character, mm-hmm. and just was a wonderful marriage of the two. Mm-hmm. Whenever Mads Mikkelsen takes over a role, I always raise an eyebrow. Mm-hmm. Not of, oh, that's who you're casting? No, of, oh, that's who you're casting.
The Mr. Doctor.
Like, because Mads Mikkelsen always just adds this gravitas to any role that he comes with. I mean, you're literally casting a Hannibal Lecter who, I'm sorry, before Hannibal ever became a series, there was no one who could probably do it better than the original Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah.
And oh god, I'm blanking. Oh my god, who played Hannibal Lecter?
Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins. Thank you, Sir Anthony Hopkins, because he did earn his title.
Hello, Clarice.
You are going up against Sir Anthony Hopkins.
Sir Anthony Hopkins.
For a role of a lifetime, and the dude hits it out of the park in Hannibal. Mm-hmm. Mads Mikkelsen genuinely is a national treasure, and he, again, I really hate to say, I kind of do hate to say it, he blows Johnny Depp's Grindelwald out of the park.
But not because of, like,
it's
pure
not, it's,
ability.
Yeah, it's because I feel like we spend more time with Grindelwald on this one.
Yeah.
We see a lot more of Grindelwald's point of view and his softer side as well.
Yes.
Because, which also, that's something that we should bring up. It's minor spoiler, very minor spoiler, because it was very heavily hinted at in Crimes of Grindelwald, but was outright stated in this one, which I'm happy about.
Also in the 7th book.
Yeah.
Of Deathly Hallows.
Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore and Grindelwald are lovers.
Yes.
And they flat out say, I loved him. Mm-hmm. He loved me. Like, they steer into it. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy that they do.
Yes.
Again, treating LGBTQ like normal.
Yes.
Not going, like, that's one thing I will give. I hate that I have to give credit to this one.
Yeah.
But Steve Kloves and J.K. Rowling did it really well on this one.
And they didn't waste any time.
Because they really did well with actually, because that was one of the biggest criticisms of Crimes of Grindelwald, was that they didn't say it.
No.
They alluded to it very heavily, but didn't outright state it.
Yes.
Right out of the gate, they say it. First scene.
I feel like it may have something to do, they don't know, because originally this film was supposed to be a trilogy.
Yeah.
But then they announced it's going to be 5.
Yeah.
I also have a feeling they don't know if this is going to be the last movie or not. So I feel like without wasting any time, they feel like they had to get that out there within the first scene.
And all of those scenes that were just between Mads Mikkelsen and Jude Law.
Perfect.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Amazing. We'll get into the spoiler side of how that was done in a little bit, how I was kind of confused about a little bit of it. Exactly like how it was kind of set.
Yeah.
But really freaking wonderful. His performance was magic.
So this movie was set in Germany?
A lot of it was, but was it?
With the accents.
Because, okay. So yeah, a lot of it takes place in the late 30s Germany.
Mm-hmm. Not Nazi Germany.
Not the Muggle side.
Mm-hmm.
So, but since Grindelwald has a very pure blood
view of
things, it's very heavily alluded to the Nazis.
Yeah.
And him being very much like Adolf Hitler. It's a very good place to set the movie in.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
agree.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, the setting really doesn't lend itself to the area.
Nope.
They say, "Ooh, we're heading to Germany." Ooh, and then it just takes place in the Muggle world.
Yeah.
Specifically. And it kind of just, I believe it's supposed to be an allegory for like what was going on in the world at the time, like how the Muggles and the Wizarding world were dealing with very similar issues at the same time. Mm-hmm. But
it just didn't hit.
It just it was just kind of forgotten, and especially like how you said with the accents.
Boy.
this they take a lot of place of this in Germany. The accents 90% of the time are British.
Yeah.
From the Germans.
He's not exaggerating either. It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
I'm like, I will give props for being consistent, at least. Mm-hmm. But my God, like, if you're going to say someone's going to be German accent, that's expected.
You got to have a dialect coach.
You can't just say, nope, everyone's British.
You got to have some kind of coaching backstage or behind the scenes.
It was very lazy.
Yeah, it was
a very lazy, easy call.
Yeah, it was
for continuity, fine.
Yeah,
but even when in the last one they went to France, they all had French dialects. Mm-hmm. No German dialects whatsoever.
Yeah, it was
absolutely none. I don't even think I can even pick out one person that had one.
I couldn't either.
Not even any extras, not anybody. No German whatsoever. Mm-mm. It was really weird. Mm-hmm. But, so earlier I mentioned, we'll go ahead and kind of transition to the multiple plot lines of this. Mm-hmm. I will go ahead and warn you, audience, within like the first or second scene when we actually kind of start getting into like the thick of the movie, mm-hmm. You kind of see the scene in the trailer where they're all on the train and they're meeting all together as the group for the first time. Mm-hmm.
Dumbledore's first secret army.
First secret army. And they flat out go, this movie is going to go in multiple directions.
Yeah, they say it away.
They're right out of the gate. And I feel like some people are going to say, oh, that's just lazy writing. I actually counter. I think that's actually really good writing to set expectations.
Absolutely, because you don't know what you're going to get with all these multiple things going on.
Because if you just go throughout the movie without saying that, it's going to feel messy. Mm-hmm. If you set expectations at the beginning of the movie and say, hey, there's going to be a lot going on right now, mm-hmm. And be ready for it.
Yep.
Then I respect it. Mm-hmm. If you can flat out say that at the beginning of your movie and go and say that there's going to be a lot going on, so you're going to have to pay attention, I respect that.
I do too.
So that is, to me, genuinely good writing. Was it a lot? Yeah, there was a lot going on, but I feel like for as much as they were trying to have going on and whatnot, could they have cut some things down? Yes.
Yeah.
They could have. But they also knew where to keep some plot lines smaller and some plot lines bigger.
Well, and to keep the movie going,
and
too.
to keep the movie going, right. Nothing really overstayed its welcome, I feel.
And there wasn't really a drag moment either.
Yeah, it was constantly moving.
Yeah.
There were maybe some things, again, where we were like, no, go back to that. That was a little more interesting. Please go back to that.
Yeah.
But it was continually moving, which was, I feel, really, really wonderful about it. But again, it did have a lot of plot lines, so we will warn you about that.
Yeah. But we got to review it.
Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to our review, my friends. So, Mitch, we have now seen the third Fantastic Beasts movie, The Secrets of Dumbledore. What is your review?
It's a secret.
Oh, it's a secret. Okay. Are we back to this? Are we back to ASMR?
Well, so I'm going to have to say, even though the first one, I ate it up. The second one needed to cook.
Yeah.
Like a lot. This one, it's no secret. I ate it up.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
All right.
What about you, Zach?
Yeah. So there were a lot of things that I was going into this movie of recognizing that I could very much see this movie needing to cook a little more and needing a little seasoning.
I was the same way.
And my expectations dropped at the beginning when it said J.K. Rowling was screenwriting this on the beginning credits. But I would be lying if I said I didn't enjoy it. I ate this movie up too. It's, again, I feel like there's a lot that they can do going forward if the movie continues to perform how it seems like it's performing, because right now it seems like it's predicted to be at 20 million.
Which isn't good for Harry Potter.
Which is not good for Harry Potter. If they end up completely canceling or stopping the series right here, I think that is a misstep on Warner Brother Discovery's part. I feel like they need to do 3, 4, 5 more movies of this franchise? No. But at least one wrap up, because you are now in the thick of it. To do at least a wrap up movie, to at least say, okay, this is how the story ends.
Sure.
And give a good send off to some of these characters which genuinely deserve it, like Jacob Kowalski, like Newt Scamander, like Queenie, like Albus Percival Wulfric, Brian Dumbledore, and Grindelwald. You should wrap up these characters, and especially since the big thing of this franchise has been we are going to build up to the big duel between Albus and Grindelwald. Because
that's a big one in the books.
That's not only a big one in the books, that is a big thing just in the Wizarding World universe. That is a major event that happens.
People talk about it all the time. And it is literally what skyrockets Dumbledore from being a professor to being on the likes of Merlin and like of high talks and praise. Like, right.
That is why.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, in the books, the only way Albus was able to defeat Grindelwald was he had to steal the Elder Wand, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I don't know. Again, my sister is the genius on Harry Potter.
I think that's how it goes. Spoiler for Deathly Hallows, but if you haven't read that book or seen that movie, y'all, what are you doing? But I feel like that's the only way he could have defeated him. I mean, I don't know how they're going to do it.
I don't know either. Which also, I really do love the design of Albus's wand. I think it's a really cool design for his wand. So I'm going to be kind of sad when he takes over the Elder Wand, because that's a very cool looking wand. Yeah. But it's very, very much a big moment in the Wizarding World. So at least deliver on the promise you made at the beginning of this franchise and give us that duel.
But you mentioned spoilers.
All right. You want to continue on? Do you want to move on to our spoiler section, Mitch?
I do.
All right. Let's bring out the siren. Wah, Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! All right, my friends, we are now in spoiler territory.
We are?
We are.
Wait, we're doing a podcast?
We are doing a podcast.
We're
so
secret,
excited.
But it's secret.
Oh, it's the secret.
The spoilers are secrets.
Spoilers are secrets.
Yeah, and that's our podcast, everybody.
Oh yeah, that's it. Okay.
Now it's time to go to bed.
we actually have quite a bit of to get through in the spoiler section. There's actually a lot to talk about in this one.
Like I said, if you haven't gone to the bathroom now, you better pause and go to the bathroom.
But we'll get one of the big ones out right out of the gate. There is a retcon from the previous one with Credence. At the end of Crimes of Grindelwald, Grindelwald actually tells Credence that he's a Dumbledore, but not only just a Dumbledore, he is a brother of Aberforth and Albus.
The youngest of the Dumbledore
line.
Yes, because it was Albus is the oldest, I think, then Aberforth.
And then their sister, I believe, is their youngest, who unfortunately passes.
And you find out exactly how in this one.
Yeah.
Which is a beautiful moment, by the way. We can talk about that later. But he's supposed to be the fourth of the Dumbledore line. But this movie retconned it into making him Aberforth's son.
Which I thought, honestly, was better.
I agree.
I was not I liked that he was a Dumbledore, but I was not a fan that he was
a brother.
Making him one of the sons, and especially Aberforth's son, I thought was really, really beautiful. And how they tied it in with the Dumbledore line, I thought was really good because, like how you said, well, he's an Obscurial as Credence. We find out that that the sister was also an Obscurial. What a cool way to kind of connect the family aspect of that, of being like the Obscurial is almost like a genetic thing and disease that has happened to multiple people in the line of Dumbledore.
Well, it also makes sense because the way they explain it was Aberforth fell in love with an American woman.
Yep.
And it makes a lot of sense why Credence would be in America during Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Why would an English Dumbledore all of a sudden be over in America for no apparent reason?
Yeah.
That just didn't make any sense to me in the second one.
Yeah.
Like when when Grindelwald says you're his brother, I'm just like, okay, so he's his brother, but number one, why was he in America?
Yeah.
That makes zero sense. But now with him being Aberforth's son and Albus's nephew, and it really tied it together with, okay, Aberforth was with a American lady for a time, and she left him to go to America and had Credence. Yeah. And also there was a nice little moment where Aberforth and Albus were able to set aside their differences because the way that can we talk about it?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
The way that the sister died was Aberforth did not approve of Albus and Grindelwald's relationship. They didn't really go into detail on that one.
No, not really.
And some voices were raised, some
wands were drawn, as
some
they
words
say.
were said, and wands were drawn. They got into a
little duel, like a scrap. It seems like not many spells are cast.
Yeah, but
then the wrong one was cast
because the sister came down the stairs, no one saw her coming, and a wrong spell was cast, and she was killed. So
I really love also the kind of beautiful nature of we don't know if it was Albus or if it was Aberforth's spell that did the deed.
But Albus really.
But Albus says I don't know if it was mine, but I still feel responsible because both of them were.
Yeah, and they both. I think. Because there's a moment at the beginning of the movie where they're having supper, and it was her favorite meal.
Yeah.
And I loved how they ate it later, and they were like, oh, I'm not going to eat this gunk. And they all just like, oh, this is so good.
This is actually really great.
But they both know they're both responsible.
Yeah.
They just don't know. You can feel this tension that
they deal with it differently.
Yeah. They don't know whose spell it was.
Yeah.
But they both know that we're both responsible. We both have to take responsibility for it.
Yeah.
But let's go to this next spoiler.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so they actually introduced such a cool aspect of the Wizarding World here.
Yes, a very beautiful character.
Very kind of a little confusing as well.
Yeah.
So how to me I grapple with it, I think I needed my brain to kind of fill in the details of it. I feel like, so evidently how the Wizarding World is kind of governed is that you have the Ministry of Magic in Britain, you have the Ministry of Magic in the US, you have the Ministry in France, you have the Ministry in Germany. You have all these different ministries, but then you have one person. I don't know what they're called, but it's like a prime minister. Sense, It's like there's something. But I feel like each ministry votes on their representative, and then they bring it up for the prime minister, and they're down to 2 in this movie.
There's 3, I thought.
Well, first originally 2.
It was 2.
Originally 2. And I do not know the names of either of them.
Because
they are very small.
And they were kind of worthless to this movie.
Well, and they kind of make it seem worthless because Grindelwald then is actually cleared of all charges and becomes the third.
Yes, the third candidate.
He becomes the third candidate. And the reason why I feel like they made the other 2 seem small is to make the threat of Grindelwald even bigger.
Oh, absolutely.
So him stepping onto the scene makes it seem more grander and makes it seem like, oh, he's gonna win. But the thing is that's where it kind of got me a little confused, because like I thought that they were gonna do like a whole like voting process of the multiple candidates. No, they actually introduce a very rare creature. Getting back to the Fantastic Beast.
Finally.
Heck yes.
The Quillen.
The Quillen. Yeah.
The Quillen.
The Quillen. And do you want to talk about exactly what the Quillen is and what it does?
So basically the Quillen is kind of, dare I say, it's kind of like a mix between a deer and almost like
an antelope almost?
An antelope, yeah. A very, very beautiful character.
Oh, gorgeous.
And the way the character is, it's very pure.
And very rare.
And the way that this creature works is it's been used for a very long time in the Wizarding World, and if it bows to you, then it sees that you are pure of heart. Because it knows the way its eyes work, it's able to see into a person's soul.
Yep. It can see their past, their present, and their future.
Yes. And so the way that it worked in this movie, so Newt Scamander at the beginning of the movie went to find the Quillen.
Yeah.
And the mom Quillen had originally won.
Yeah.
And Credence came and they fought and they took it away, but it actually had twins.
I was genuinely confused at that part for a second.
I was too.
I thought, wait,
what?
Because
did it escape?
Because Pickett, the very small green plant that I freaking love.
Yeah.
After Ezra Miller Credence takes the first Quillen away, Newt falls because Credence killed the mom. Yeah. So he basically falls on the mom. And somehow the mom didn't die right away.
Yeah.
I was really shocked about that because I thought Avada Kedavra, instant, death.
It's supposed to.
But evidently this creature, lived for, a little bit.
Yeah.
And he, Newt basically goes to it as, I'm sorry, I failed. And then all of a sudden...
Here it comes,
with Pickett. And I'm like, wait...
Did it escape?
and then the movie does, twins. And
yeah.
I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Okay.
So the first twin, I about knocked over the microphone. Zach is laughing at me. So
I'm the clumsy one in this one. Don't take my role here.
So the first twin is taken to Grindelwald and it's killed. And Grindelwald finds a way to bring it back to life.
That I was also really confused on.
It was so stupid.
It was weird. And it was a way to, I feel, it was almost like a plot device. Because, again, we'll kind of move this we put this multiple
plot lines
a little further in it, but we'll go ahead and bring it up now since it's kind of relevant.
Yeah.
Grindelwald basically... So he kills this Quillen.
Grindelwald does.
And I feel like he drank its blood.
No,
or
he did.
something.
I'm pretty sure he did.
They don't show him do it, but basically how they show... When they basically slit the Quillen's throat, and once it's slit and the blood kind of goes like everywhere on the floor, you can see the future in this blood. Mm-hmm. And then after that, it's basically Dumbledore basically says, okay, somehow Grindelwald is going to be... They don't know exactly how. The army and all Albus don't know exactly how they're going to do it, but they're like, he's going to be able to see the future. He's going to be able to see all of our steps. Mm-hmm. So we basically need to confuse him.
Yeah.
And do a bunch of whole different things to keep him on his toes. So
before we keep going, the scene where they grab all the cases... When Albus takes Jacob, he goes, all right, Mr. Kowalski, you're coming in with me. Pick any case that you want. And then he goes to pick one.
He makes like this really weird grunt, like...
It was the funniest thing in the movie. And we're like, well...
Oh, that one wasn't the funniest, but we'll get to that one.
It's got to be one of them.
It's one of them, though. But I knew once Albus made that grunt, I was like, oh, that ain't the case.
Yeah.
He did that so that Newt would take it.
Yep.
So that Newt would think that he had the case.
Yeah, because in the case, it was the twin Quillen. And at the end, so it's time to vote.
Yeah.
And the original Quillen that was killed, but brought back to life.
Weirdly.
Yeah. It's a whole thing. It is brought in front of everybody, and the Wizarding World sees it. It goes past the first candidate, past the second one, goes to Grindelwald and bows.
How dare you?
How dare you?
Quillen.
Even though it literally looks like a walking zombie.
It looks like a corpse.
Yeah, it literally is a corpse. And then all of a sudden, everybody shows up. Like, Newt shows up, Albus shows up, and then Credence shows up and is like, that creature is dead.
Okay, we got to talk about our screening. Hold on. We got to talk about our screening at that moment. Because, okay, so whoever, like, the prime minister, whoever the Wizarding World is at the time before this election happens, he literally picks up this corpse-ish Quillen. and he goes, look, this is the Quillen. It's the true one. It lives. And I laugh. I give the biggest cackle because I'm like, this thing looks like... This thing looks terrible.
And then it dies.
And I just cackle. And then everyone just kind of almost like laughs at me in the theater because I was the only one that broke that silence. And it was so funny. I couldn't help but laugh, and I felt so bad because I'm laughing at a corpse. But
it was a funny moment.
It was funny, and I got the joke first, I think, before everyone, and everyone just kind of like. Everyone kind of laughed at the moment, and then it died, and then people laughed, and I was just like, why did I laugh that early?
So then... After that happened, the twin Quillen, the one that's actually alive and knows how to do its thing, walks past the
first one,
the first candidate, goes to Grindelwald, doesn't even notice him,
and then walks past the third one.
No, actually, not. We'll get to that.
He walks past the third one, but then
he goes to Albus. Mm-hmm. And he bows.
And Albus is like, no.
And then, and he pleads with the creature and says, there's got to be somebody better.
He's like, thank you.
Yeah.
This is really endearing, but this is not the time.
And then the creature goes to the
first candidate.
To the first candidate and then sees it. Takes a little bit longer. Yeah. I thought he was going to go to Jacob.
Genuinely, I thought that's what was going to happen. I was like,
that would have been so cool. Yeah.
Well, and also, that was two moments for me for Jacob because I genuinely thought, so right before that, Grindelwald, when the deadish Quillen bows to Grindelwald, it's assumed that he won.
Yeah.
And there's a beat of him winning, basically, like a good amount of time where he has won and he believes he's won, and everyone believes that he's won before Bunty comes in with the second Quillen.
Yeah.
He takes Jacob and like presents him to the front, I'm like, don't you dare.
Yeah.
You're going to kill him.
Yeah.
Don't you dare. But then he does the Cruciatus Curse instead, which I was like, oh, thank God, he's not going to kill him.
And he did the big quote of, our war with the Muggles begins today.
But literally, I was like, for a second, I thought, I was like, oh, they're going to kill him. They're going to kill Jacob. Don't you dare. Don't you dare kill Jacob.
Well, then after bowing to Albus, there was that, it's going to go to Jacob.
It's going to go Jacob.
But it went to the first candidate. And then I'm going to segue into this one.
Yep.
Then Grindelwald gets pissed. He does the Avada Kedavra curse at
Credence.
At Credence, yes. But then Albus with his thing and
with Albus and Aberforth basically tried to intercept it.
Yeah.
And then we didn't mention this at all yet.
Oh no, we didn't.
So the reason why Albus and Grindelwald cannot outright fight each other, because we should have mentioned it when we talked about the love portion. They made a blood pact.
Yeah, which
it basically, if one of them even thinks about moving against about the other,
they're gonna die.
It basically strangles them.
Yeah, it kills them.
It kills them. But because I don't know. I don't completely understand it.
Yeah, I didn't really get it either.
I don't completely, but how they basically say it is because Dumbledore was protecting someone
and Grindelwald was
trying to attack them.
I think it had something to do. Yeah, I think it had something to do with originally their blood pact was they were the same, they were in love, they had similar qualities.
Yeah.
The blood pact finally saw
their ideologies are separate.
Yeah, are separate, and now there's no pact. Their pact is gone, and then starts the duel.
The small duel.
But it was still pretty neat.
It's still cool as hell. Like, it's really well done, really well choreographed. Which also, let's also kind of talk. Whenever they talked between Albus and Grindelwald, they talked in this, like, pocket universe thing.
But it's still pretty neat.
It's cool. I don't know where it comes from.
I don't know either.
Because you just kind of slip into it.
And then the heart
And then you're just kind of there.
Yeah.
And it happens at the beginning, it happens in the middle, and it happens in the end.
Well, it makes you kind of
think, like, what? Where are we? What are we doing?
And it kind of makes you think, like, what? Are people watching this? Or?
Yeah, genuinely. Especially when we got to the duel specifically.
Yeah. Are we watching this?
Are we watching this? The same thing happened with Credence.
Yeah.
When Credence and Albus, because Credence actually, his mission in this movie is to kill Albus. There's a moment where Credence tries to kill Albus. And
they go into that pocket universe.
You don't know that they go into that pocket universe, though, because like Credence starts wrecking house.
Yeah.
Like he starts like pulling apart buildings, smashing trams. Like he wrecks house. And I'm like, this body count is tremendous.
Yeah, it was great.
And then all of a sudden it switches to this pocket universe and reveals that they were in this like pocket universe the whole time. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. But I was like, when?
Yeah.
But yeah, they do kind of the same thing again when Albus and Grindelwald duel for quote unquote the first time. It was not in person, but like in this pocket universe. It was epic.
Yeah, it was neat.
And it made me just want to go, oh, this is just a tasting of what could happen.
It had the makings of the best duel that we've seen in the Wizarding world.
100%.
Because
like,
everybody...
It did better than anything Harry and Voldemort dueled out. It blew that duel out of the water. It blew
the only thing
anything.
that came, in my opinion, the best duel I've seen on screen with the Wizarding World was Albus versus Voldemort in the 5th movie.
Oh, that one was good, yeah.
But this one had the makings of something truly, truly epic.
Yeah.
And now I kind of understand why you want the fourth one to happen, because if we see that for like a 10-minute fight, maybe a 15, 20-minute fight, oh baby, oh baby.
And like having like other characters maybe like jumping in and trying to help out, and Elvis going like, no, I got this. This is mine.
But at the same time, I kind of want it to be the Pocket Universe thing. And everybody, like, this fight goes on for 15, 20 minutes, and then it ends. Everybody's like,
wait, he's on the ground. He died. What?
What did I miss?
But we have to talk about how this like mini Pocket Universe duel ends, though, because it ends very, very beautifully. Because they basically, you kind of see in the trailer, they kind of like flourish their wands and are right next to each other, and they're kind of using their hands to push each other away.
Yeah.
But their hands happen to land on their hearts. And then they realize, shit,
We still love each other.
this is the person that I used to love.
Right.
And it's just kind of beautiful, and that's what stops the action. And I just really love that.
I did too.
Because it still shows that they are very torn about fighting. They realized, they knew that it was inevitable, but now that it's here, and it's now possible, because at that moment, that blood pact
It's gone.
is gone. The blood pact is shattered, and they are shattered, because they now know that this is now something that was a possibility, but now has become very real, and is going to happen. Both of them know,
And that's why we want a fourth one.
Oh, yeah.
But can we talk about something else?
Oh yeah.
The scorpion breakout.
Okay, this is to me, this is the funniest moment in the entire movie, which it's very serious. It's supposed to be a very serious moment.
This is all yours.
Yeah. So Theseus gets captured, which is kind of cool-ish. But they go to like this, like underground thing, where
Kind of like a prison.
Kind of like a prison, and like it's both like a prison and execution almost, because they basically tie up the prisoners, hang them upside down, and they basically wait for like your light to go out. And when your light goes out, this giant scorpion thing comes out from the depths, stabs you, pulls you in, gobbles you up and chews you up, but then spits you back up for its like little babies to like feed on. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very wonderful beast. Thank gosh.
There was a few moments where I think the first time you saw somebody get eaten, quote unquote, it gets spits out. Everybody's like, oh. Yeah, that's exactly what you did.
Everyone went literally in the theater was like, oh, it was kind of nasty.
But the way Newt dealt with the little babies, like
because Newt Scamander is a zoologist. He's an expert in all beasts.
Yeah.
So you would think he would have a way to get around these things.
Boy, he did.
And boy, did he. Because he basically goes into this pose, and the only thing that I can describe it as is, you know, SpongeBob SquarePants in the episode where he goes, bring it around town, and he swivels his hips, like, really amazingly.
Yeah.
Eddie Redmayne can do it better. Yeah. Jesus, like the dude, he had to take like belly dancing classes or something, because like the dude swiveled miraculously, and what's revealed is that this way of possibly getting around it was never tested. It was only like happened once in a controlled setting in a lab. Yeah. And that was it. So he was like, I'm surprised this worked. And he's talking to his brother, and he cuts his brother down. And then
they get out.
And then they're trying to move, and the brother's barely swiveling. And then we finally see the creature attack a prisoner and spit him back out. And then he's like, and then the brother's like, okay, I need to swivel. And then he like really tries and gyrates, and it's funny as heck.
Yeah,
Like the joke never gets old. It was funny from the beginning of the joke to the end of the joke, and I loved every freaking second of it.
Yeah. One quick thing. I know we're going a little bit
Out of order, but it's okay.
Can we talk about there's barely any Tina?
Yeah, was genuinely surprised about that, and they deal with that right out of the gate. They basically say like, Tina got like a huge promotion.
Yeah.
She's in charge of all the ours in
America.
And you're like, oh, dang,
cool. But I want to see her.
I want to see her. We get basically all that we get to see of her is she has a new picture in Newt's spot, which is
suitcase,
which is great. And then she comes in at the end I was at the beginning, I was really starting to be like, are you really not going to have Tina for this scene? Because we have a wedding that happens, marriage, as it's said,
with Jacob and Queenie.
Queenie and Jacob finally get married at the end. Which, congratulations, Mazel Tov, we love you.
Fantastic.
But I was like, Tina, your sister's getting married.
You got to be the maid of honor.
You got to show up. Like, none of this, like, I'm too busy doing or stuff. No, she's like, show up. And then she finally does. At the very end, at the wedding, she finally shows up. I don't know if it was because of a scheduling conflict. I don't know. Mitch, you brought up a good point that it could have been COVID.
The panini.
That could have gotten it, and there was just maybe too many people on set, or maybe she decided not to vaccinate. Which, if that was the case, please vaccinate.
Or it could have just been one of those deals,
or just scheduling. She was just maybe overbooked,
or it could have been a contract dispute too,
or a contract dispute, or maybe they were like, we just have too many people in this movie.
Maybe have her in the fourth one.
I think hopefully we want her in the fourth one. She's a really wonderful character. Bring her in.
And this does have a lot of sequel possibilities.
Oh yeah, 100%. Again, I think we kind of said this at the beginning. Do we need a whole lot more Fantastic Beasts movie? No. But we should get at least one more to wrap everything up.
Absolutely.
And I think you can do that in one movie.
Because they don't catch Grindelwald. He still goes on the run.
Well, and the funny thing is, to me, with Fantastic Beasts, I feel like Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them was an introduction to the world and to the characters. And the trilogy starts at Crimes of Grindelwald.
I agree.
Crimes of Grindelwald is number 1. This movie is number 2. I feel like if you wrap it up with this one and whatever Fantastic Beasts 4 is called, wrap it up, that's a trilogy, and Fantastic Beasts is just like your supplementary like introduction, which was kind of nice and cool, to be honest.
I agree.
I like that it was just kind of like, we're going to spend some time with these characters, you're going to get to know them, and this is their thought processes and ideals, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of our story. But yeah, no, a lot of sequel potential, but I don't think we need very much more after one more movie.
Yeah, I think one more movie will do it.
Would I love to see more from the Wizarding World? Absolutely. I will never say no to that.
I feel like
it's going to be really wonderful.
I hope that they have like maybe an HBO Max show here or there. I feel like that
like
could
a
help.
chapters of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, like going through Newt's book, and maybe like him, like this episode, he goes and tells you how he captured this one and how to like take care of this animal, and then the next episode is taking care of this animal and how to take care of that. That would be kind of fun, I would think.
Absolutely.
And like that's another thing too. Do we need a whole lot more sequels to Fantastic Beasts? No. But that doesn't mean that we can't see these characters
in other
forms. Like, we could see them pop up in different ways. Like, how we saw the alchemist who created the Sorcerer's Stone, whatever his name was. The really ancient dude.
Nicholas Flamel.
Yeah, Nicholas Flamel. We got to see him actually in action, in live action, which was really, really cool.
Yeah.
In the last one. Not in this one. He does not show up in this movie. But
nope, sadly he does not.
But it was kind of cool. But it's just one of those things, like, we can have them pop up, you know, in different ways, which I think would be really cool.
Because this is a Wizarding World.
And all the, like, and that's the big thing that I feel like ultimately comes with these Fantastic Beasts movies. The characters always seem to be very wonderful. It just always seems like the script seems to fail them in certain aspects.
I think to end this, you got to maybe
which
find,
then comes around
Yeah.
to what you were about to say, which is
J.K. Rowling does not need to be writing the script.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and I'm going to compare this to Star Wars.
Please do.
And a lot of people are going to hate me for this. And as a huge Star Wars fan, a lot of Star Wars fans are going to hate me. A lot of people call purist Star Wars fans. George Lucas left at the right time, and George Lucas needed to leave. Now, again, this is coming from a Disney cast member, so you can, I don't care if you call me a Disney shill or whatever, but someone was going to take it over.
Absolutely.
Disney just happened to be the brand that did. And George Lucas left when he should have.
I agree.
And if you go back to after Return of the Jedi and Clone Wars, if you go back to that time, everyone was calling for it. Everyone was saying George needs to leave. He needs to go, he needs to get out of here.
Yeah, because Phantom Menace wasn't very good. Attack of the Clones.
A lot of people really didn't like Attack of the Clones, and there were a good portion of people that didn't like Revenge of the Sith. And then a lot of people really did not like Clone Wars at the beginning. A lot of people really kept on saying George Lucas needs to leave the franchise. And I agree with that. Still to this day, because yes, George Lucas is a very wonderful creator. He is what gave us Star Wars. He created Star Wars. He gave us a universe. I am very thankful for George Lucas. And if he would ever like to come back to work on Star Wars, I would gladly welcome him with open arms. But you need multiple creatives to flesh out a world.
Yeah, you can't just
rely on one person. Otherwise, the franchise dies.
And that's what's going on with this.
Exactly. And that's the thing. George Lucas was getting so much into minutia, and that's where I think J.K. Rowling started to slip as well, because she was giving broader strokes and really wonderful things. She gave us Pottermore, which I thought was really, really wonderful when that came out. But then she started going off the rails on the really specific minutia. remember that, when before toilets were invented, they would just poop on the ground and evaporate the poop and pee. And I'm like, who needed to know that?
I feel like this is kind of an ego thing.
And then we get into the really backshit stuff of her beliefs on trans, and that's absolutely not.
I just mentioned this, but I feel like it's an ego thing. I feel like she's like, I just made a multi-billion-dollar franchise with these books. I started from the bottom. Now I'm here. These films are making tons and tons of money. The West End and Broadway show is making tons and tons of money.
Yep.
She's like, I made this. So I need to keep up to this franchise. But at the same time, you're just one person and you have only one set of ideas. You need to have multiple people in order to collaborate, in order to make a broader scale universe. Because the Wizarding World, you have so much potential, not just with Harry Potter, not just with Newt Scamander, not just with Albus Dumbledore. Think of what's going on in America, in France, in Germany, much.
And that's what I feel Fantastic Beasts is doing such a wonderful job of, is opening our eyes up to the grander Wizarding World. Before, with Harry Potter, we were just looking at one specific school in one specific country, and looking at it that way. We were given the idea of different schools in the fourth book, but that was only for just a little bit. But now with Fantastic Beasts, we have now seen multiple ministries of magic at this point now. So this world is vast. But J.K. Rowling should be left behind in the past at this point. We have grown past her. We are now in the point where this franchise is too big for one person.
I agree.
And her views are toxic and are what's going to bring this group and fandom and stories down if she continues down the path that she continues to go down.
You know it's something because I watched the HBO Max special, the 20-year special. You know it's something
When they didn't even mention her at all.
She was... The interviews were pre-recorded. They were archival footage. She didn't even make a single appearance in that whole special. So you know that not just the producers, but the entire cast, like, you know, Daniel Radcliffe refuses to even mention Harry Potter.
Yeah. It's to the point where even Warner Brothers, it feels like Warner Brothers Discovery even knows there's an issue.
Yeah.
They don't know how to handle it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like with the new leadership of Warner Brothers Discovery, they're going to make a decision on this finally of what to do.
I think it's going to be soon, too.
And they're either going to steer into her or steer away from her. And I hope it's the latter.
I think it is, too.
Because the longer you stay with J.K. Rowling and her views and ideas, the farther that you are pushing people away, and that is not going to be good.
And it's really a shame because there's so many good characters in the Harry Potter Wizarding World that a lot of trans characters identify with.
Exactly.
Really.
But yeah, it's such a beautiful world, and this movie I feel like was a return to form for Fantastic Beasts. Mm-hmm. Not the best, but a step back in the right direction. And I feel like a stepping off point for the end.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we both ate it up, but we do want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, we do. Please go ahead and email us at any point in time. Our email is on all of our podcast sites, of all of our distributors. Mm-hmm. If you ever want to see our main page, we also have a link to our main page, but we would really love to hear from you. What movies would you like us to talk about? What series would you guys like to talk about? We are talking about maybe doing a Moon Knight. Talking about that when it all finishes up. We
got a lot of stuff coming out.
We are going to talk about Obi-Wan once it is all out and done.
Of course, we can't forget about Doctor Strange.
And then Doctor Strange is coming out this weekend. So
weekend.
Oh wait, I'm a weekend ahead of myself.
We're 2
weekends away. But
you're talking about the Northmen.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get to the Northmen next week.
We're really excited.
Oh, that's gonna be a really great one. But until then, I'm Zach.
Are you sure you're Zach?
Yeah, sure. I think so. There are multiple versions of me, but that's everywhere all at once. But until that time, I'm Zach.
I'm Mitch.
That you are, and we are an excellent little podcast.